So Steve Schmidt is a Republican strategist who gave us Sarah Palin. That's the kind of genius he is and political hack he is. But ever since then, he's basically been on this long apology tour where he got a job on MSNBC and he started cheerleading corporate Democrats to get back in with the cool crowd. Well, now he's an advisor to Howard Schultz 2020 campaign. This is great. So he does a podcast here. Now, this is his own podcast, and it's with Elise Jordan and Adam Levine. Not the Adam Levine of Maroon 5, I don't think. But it's the Words Matter podcast, and here's what happened when they posed him a slightly tough question on Howard Schultz 2020 run. Listen.
Last week, he called a 70% tax on incomes over $10 million ridiculous from a United States congresswoman who happened to have been elected to something. Now, I know you're a guy of words, Steve, and ridiculous means deserving or inviting derision or mockery, absurd, synonyms, comical, hilarious, we could go on, farcical. Is that what, does he really mean that a tax on incomes over $10 million at 70%, which is widely popular with the American people, is ridiculous? Is that an adult conversation?
Yeah, I think he thinks it's ridiculous and it's confiscatory and that it's anti-growth. That would be his point.
Will Derek Jeter or another athlete not hit another home run because they're going to get taxed at 70? What's the economic behavior that he thinks it's anti-growth other than his own pocket?
Adam, this is bullshit. I'm not doing this.
Steve, you got to answer the questions.
I'm not.
You got it, Steve.
I'm not.
Unfortunately, the interview ended there. We wanted to ask Steve some serious and important questions about his new role. Questions we'd gotten from our listeners, followers, colleagues, friends, and questions we had ourselves. If our tone was a bit more pointed and direct than usual, it's because this is a topic of great consequence. And these are extraordinarily dangerous times, as Steve himself has reminded us again and again over the last 2 years.
Believe it or not, I actually don't want to pick on Steve Schmidt here, because it is my sincere belief that virtually all of these overpaid strategists in D.C. are exactly like Steve Schmidt. They cannot defend the ideology of the people that they're strategists for. They're all grifters. I mean, it's a professional class. They think it's a job to them. And so they just go through the motions, break out that old playbook, tell them, hey, here's what you say. And by the way, how bad of an advisor is Steve Schmidt? Well, look at the McCain-Palin campaign. How'd that go? But also, look at what Howard Schultz has been doing. He has a 4% approval rating. 4. This is the strategist, the grand mastermind orchestrator of Howard Schultz's campaign. So, simply put, guys, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And can he defend the corporate elitist philosophy of Howard Schultz? I don't think anybody can defend that philosophy. Nobody can defend that philosophy. It is objectively a terrible philosophy for the American people. So what happens when there's just a little bit of pushback on this guy's fucking vanity tour, Howard Schitz vanity tour? Crumbles. Immediately crumbles under just a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pushback. Hey, he said it's ridiculous to have a 70% top marginal tax rate on income over $10 million a year. So that doesn't mean all of the $10 million gets taxed at 70%. No. It means the money over that $10 million line, every dollar over the $10 million line is taxed at 70%. And that's before loopholes and deductions. So the effective rate's probably 45% like it was during the golden age of economic expansion. And by the way, he says it's anti-growth. Are you fucking kidding me? We had those rates during the golden age of economic expansion. So when our economy was growing the best it has ever grown, the top marginal rate was between 70 and 93%. So listen, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's getting paid. He's part of that fucking cocktail circuit in D.C., the corporate elitists. And they're in their own bubble. They can't defend it. Listen, not to toot my own horn here, but you put me on one of these shows and they could ask, I don't care how hard the questions are on Medicare for all free college, living wage, I will be able to directly answer every single one of them with solid arguments. Why? Because I actually believe in what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm talking about. Think fucking dipshit Steve Schmidt knows anything? No, he's been schmoozing it up on the cocktail circuit with Morning Joe for the past decade. He doesn't know dick. He doesn't know anything about what the American people want. He doesn't know anything about what the polls show. He doesn't know anything about the history of economics in this country. And he's advising the most embarrassing campaign, maybe ever. Maybe ever. Because he's despised. He has a 4% approval rating. He's a symptom of the exact problem that gave us Donald Trump, and he thinks he's a savior at the same time. Hilariously dumb. But anyway, Steve Schmidt continues to be a joke. You shouldn't be surprised that the guy who brought us Sarah Palin indeed is a joke. And credit to Elise Jordan and Adam Levine there for asking, the types of questions that all of these candidates should get and all of their advisors should get. Because chances are most of them can't defend it. Only the actual lefties would have really good arguments to respond.